Welcome to the Institute of Jewish Knowledge and Learning. We are investigating A Guide for the Perplexed, the book that changed Judaism, with Rabbi Akiva Mann, live from Jerusalem. Take it away, Rebbe.
Thank you, Kim. Just get rid of something here on the computer. Okay, what a pleasure it is tonight, Chevra. Monday in Jerusalem. Okay, friends, we ended last week with the idea, and I think it's a Maimonidean and super chiddush. That, and it's something we have to wrap our minds around in order for us to fully understand how we as human beings work, and in Maimonides' view, how the human being is able to expand our consciousness. And misconceptions. One of the great accomplishments of the Guide for the Perplexed, and the reason why the Guide for the Perplexed, in its own day, was radically accepted, and at the same time radically shunned and protested against. And you always know when something like that happens, when a leader, when a thinker is beloved, and then on the other hand, on the other side, not only not beloved, but protested against, you know that person is speaking something important. Maimonides is trying in his day, and I think it's applicable more than 1,000 years later today. He was attempting to say that if we, the masses, hold on to untruths, to things that we believe are true, and in reality, with philosophical reasoning, they are really not true. It's not a question of, oh, let it go, it won't do any harm. In Maimonides' view, it will do a lot of harm. It will prevent us from expanding our wisdom base, our consciousness, our souls. It will damage the main faculty of the human being. So when he said, as we ended last week, when he says that enlightenment within the human capacity, that enlightenment stems from above, but is not necessarily gifted from above, which means that enlightenment and Ruach HaKodesh and prophecy, these faculties are human endeavors. They are human accomplishments. That was a groundbreaking chiddush that burst nearly everyone's ideas. Because in effect, he is saying that the spiritual philosopher and the godly mystic and the divinely connected farmer or trader, whoever acquires enlightenment, they come to the pillars of wisdom by his or her own blood, sweat, and tears. It is not, says Maimonides, this magical game of waiting for some sort of prophetic epiphany to come. He is saying you are looking at enlightenment, you are looking at prophecy, you're looking at the Holy Spirit in the wrong manner. It stems from above, but is not gifted from above. The gift of enlightenment comes from an internal human place. And friends, I want to spend just a little time, and I really should have, now that I think of it, printed it out, but I don't know how important that is. I want to talk about the word machshava. I introduced it last week. I want to talk about that word. Machshava comes from the root word choshev, to think. And I want us to dive into the big pool of this one word called choshev. And I think this will be especially interesting and supportive of those that have taken some classes in Jewish mysticism with me over the years. When we think about the word choshev, to think, and to ponder the idea of thinking requires a pondering that thinking has a tremendously large spectrum. There are different levels of thinking. Thinking is not just one thing. There are different levels. There are different degrees and different realms of our thought processes. To the extent that I think I would be correct in saying that when we talk about the mystical four worlds, right? We talk about the world of asiya, the world of action, the world of the realm of yitzira, of emotion, the emotional, I would call Yetzirah emotional intelligence, and the realm of the world or realm of Bria, which is the creative faculty within us, and then the world of Atzilut, which is, I would translate as the realm of pure consciousness. All of these mystical terminologies, I would say, correspond directly to the Maimonidean idea of
no sound.
The Maimonidean idea of active intelligence. Kim, you're not hearing me?
Sorry, Marilyn was having trouble. You have to sign off, turn off your computer and try signing back up. It's nothing I can do for you.
Okay, so when Maimonides speaks about active intelligence stemming from above and entering into the human being, and that's what Maimonides calls Tselem Elohim. That is what is we are made in the image of God. He is identifying, you know what the image of divinity is? It is this large thing called intelligence. So it gives a different flavor of intelligence. There is, I'm gonna now connect a little sprinkling of mysticism into Maimonidean philosophy when I start illustrating. And please think about this. There is a certain human intelligence when we are talking about the realm, the world of Asiya, when in the world of action, when you move one object with your hand, we're talking about the world of action here. When you move one object from this side of the table to that side of the table, that is one form, one realm of intelligence. When you pick up your iPhone and start dialing something or looking something up, that is one form of human intelligence. And that is called intelligence on the asiya level, on the action level. Which is quite different from the next realm of active intelligence. The next realm of active intelligence is emotional intelligence. That is quite, emotional intelligence is quite different than moving objects on your table or driving your car. That is, emotional intelligence is a grade more profound than action intelligence. When you are feeling something deeply, and that activates your cells and your brain cells in a different way than simply taking a cup of water in your hand and drinking. It truly is, on a mystical level, a different world of intelligence that we are talking about. Then there is a more profound type of intelligence. We are graduating into bria, into the creative faculty. The creative faculty within the human being is different, and a different world than emotional intelligence. The creative faculty is inventing and creating. Is creating steel bubbles that are now going to be able to take people to outer space on a regular level. That's bria. That's different. That's a different faculty. And then there is yet another realm that we are able to graduate into, and that is the realm of Atzilut, the realm of pure consciousness, which leads, Atzilut leads to, or includes, either leads to or includes already the realm of not only pure consciousness, but connecting with cosmic consciousness. And cosmic consciousness we often call the realm of prophecy. Prophecy is no other than graduating to a place of cosmic consciousness. So, friends, all of these four major, and then there's a million miles in between journey, a million-mile journey in between Asiya and Bria and all of these things, and that is the makeup of our little of what we call human intelligence. So it's wise for us to realize we often underestimate ourselves, or we fool ourselves, and we stay in the world of intelligence, in the world of machshava, only on the asiya level, only on the yitzira level, only on the emotional intelligence level, and we are reticent to move forward and to realize that the potential behind our the expansion of our own machshava potential is hardly being used. We are cheating ourselves. We are afraid, or we are in denial of pardes, of entering into the garden. Pardes is the garden of human consciousness, the different levels. So these four levels here of machshava are the same levels of pardes: pshat, remez, drush, and yesod. Yesod and atzilut, and pshat and asiya, they all correspond one to another, and we often get stuck in the pei and the reish, the pshat and the remez. We're very afraid of the drash and the yesod, and we are experts in asiya and yitzira, and we very often deny ourselves entrance into bria and for sure into atzilut. So this is the spectrum of what we call machshava, the worlds of thought. And I hope I expanded the world of thought not only to mean not only to mean that the very primary idea of just thinking. Thinking leads into realms of cosmic territories. So I want very quickly to present like 4 or 5 verses in the Torah. I always have to connect things back to the Torah, back to the roots, and discover where and how this word machshava that Maimonides is saying is the primary faculty of the Tselem Elohim, of the image of the divine within us, and to expose you to some of the texts in our tradition that use the word machshava. So ironically, friends, I always say, let's go back into the Torah and see where the headquarters in the Torah, where the headquarters of this word chet, shin, vet, where choshev is found. So ironically, the first time that this word choshev, thinking, thought processes, is mentioned in the Torah, is mentioned in quite a derogatory form. The verse reads, "Ki rabba ra'at haaretz ha'adam ba'aretz." This is just before. This is the end of Bereshit, the first portion in the Torah. The last verses in Bereshit leading up to the second parsha in the Torah, which is Noah, right? Noah and the flood. And the thought processes of mankind have gone amok. It is, so to speak, metaphorically, as if God's first experiment with mankind, with humankind, has so to speak, failed. The experiment failed. And the verse reads, "Ki rabba ra'at ha'adam ba'aretz." The evil of humanity has become great in the land. V'chol yetzer machshevot libo, and all of the inclinations of humankind's heart rak ra kol hayom, the inclinations of man's thought processes have become rotten, and they are only evil kol hayom, all day long. So that's the first time the word choshev. Man's thoughts have become crooked and distorted. Then comes Noah and the flood, all of civilization. In other words, I mean, I hope I'm not being simplistic about it, but the first experiment really did not work out well. And the second experiment was Noah and the civilization, the humanity that evolved from there. I'm just going to go on. So the first time we have the word choshev has to do with mankind, and the you know how the human thought process became so distorted and crooked. That humankind is able to distort its own thought processes to a point where it ended up in disaster. In contradistinction to that, the second verse that I chose is from Tehillim, that goes like this, that is referring to the machshava from above, God's thought processes. And this is how the verse go, and you know this, you all know this verse. So I might sing it so you recognize it and you put it down in your consciousness map. When we say every Shabbos, and this is one out of the 150 Psalms that is actually dedicated. This is Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. This is the Psalm out of the 150 Psalms that is dedicated to Shabbos. When we say, or when we sing, Ma Gadlu Masechaya, how great is your creations or your creativity. We praise God for the world. Me'od amku machshevotecha, how deep are your thoughts. Magadlu masecha Hashem, how great is your creative process, your creative world that you created for us. Me'od amku machshevotecha, how deep are your machshevot, how deep are your thoughts. So friends, in this context, we are talking about divine thoughts, and we are using it, the psalmist is using it in a sense that all of creation, all of the cosmos, all that exists, all existence is a product of God, of divine machshava. That corresponds directly to what Maimonides calls the divine active intellect. Creation is a product of the divine intellect because me'od amku machshavotecha, how deep your divine thoughts are in creating existence, period. The next little verse is a beautiful verse that is really brings machshava down to earth. When you remember the story about Joseph, when his brothers finally come to Egypt, and they discover that this viceroy of Egypt that they are speaking to is none other than their long lost brother Joseph. And Joseph confronts them. And what is the first thing that the brothers, once Joseph's identity has been revealed, what is the first thing going through the brothers' minds? I'll take this quickly because I need to inhale a little bit. What is the first thing that goes through the brothers' minds?
I think he's going to kill us.
Yeah, exactly. They are afraid for their lives. After 22 years, they are still thinking of what Joseph might be thinking, what is being harbored in Joseph's thought processes. And Joseph, in one of the verses, when he answers them, this is what he says. V'atem chashavtem alai ra'a. You, my brothers, you chashavtem, you thought to do me harm 22 years ago. Listen to the irony. Ve'elohim chashva litova. Your thought processes and your intentions 22 years ago when you slipped me into the pit and sold me as a slave, your machshava was for taka evil. The Elohim chashva letova, but the divine destiny wheel, chashva, was thinking litova, only for good. And look at me now. It taka ended up for good because I'm the viceroy. I'm the second in command in Egypt. And you see how an evil thought somehow through a convoluted destiny wheel, but I am perceiving it, says Joseph, that God's thought of your plan turned out to be for the good. So this is a verse that has human machshava in it, in conjunction, in sync with divine machshava. And friends, I'm going to end with this one. This one is from Yeshayahu, from Isaiah the prophet, which Maimonides throughout the Guide for the Perplexed. I don't have an exact like Guinness Book of World Biblical Records here, but he quotes this at least 25 times in the Guide for the Perplexed. So it is a verse in Tanakh that Maimonides uses as a core verse to define a certain divine attribute, a divine aspect of God that he uses just over and over. This is what Isaiah the prophet says: Ki gavhu shamayim va'aretz, as there is an expanse between heaven and earth, between the upper atmosphere. Heaven means the sky above us, but it also means the upper atmosphere, and then the atmosphere above that. As there is an expanse, a gap between heaven and earth, Kain gavu derachai midarkechem, so there is, says the divine voice, so there is an expanse between my ways, with a capital M, my ways, and your ways. Umachshavotai mimachshavotechem. As you clearly see the tremendous expanse there is between heaven and earth on a physical level, so you shall know that same expanse, that same gap exists between my ways, says God, and my thoughts from your thoughts, which creates a tremendous, in a way, on one level, which is very important to Maimonides, which creates a realization that the gap between Keter and Malchut, the gap between immanence and transcendence, is vast, is larger than we can think, is larger than we can even imagine. And that brings us to a very humbling point, which I think is a silver thread throughout Maimonidean philosophy, that even though I am writing, says Maimonides, a guide for the perplexed, and even though I am trying and attempting to not to negate human reason and human intellect, because that is the gem of our existence, behind the scenes, in the landscape of behind the landscape of all of our reasoning and all of our conclusions and all of our philosophical stuff, know ki lo machshavotai machshavotechem. There is a sense of striving towards a comprehension, an understanding of cosmic consciousness, but know at the end of the day, we are talking about an entity, a being, a something that is well beyond our comprehension. My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. And there is a certain beautiful humbling effect that can have on human intelligence, on the human being. That is, I think, is the epitome of what we as human beings might call transcendence. Transcendence means not necessarily I understand transcendence. It means that I am submitting. I am able as a reasoning human being to surrender to transcendence. And I think this is epitomized maybe in an I often quote this quote from Abraham Joshua Heschel when he said if you presented to me a God, a divinity that I can understand, that God would not be my God. I don't want to have a God that I can understand. Get close to, understand a little bit, yes. But what kind of chutzpah is it that I can assume that I have a complete and absolute understanding of my God? That kind of God I don't need in my life. So friends, I hope throughout these verses, you were able to reappreciate the vast faculty of what we are talking about, and when Maimonides speaks about the world of the realm of machshava, it is encompassing and including every from the minutest to the grandest, everything that animates human activity, human creative potential. It is that this word machshava is at the center of Maimonidean philosophy. And he says, as I started off, he says this faculty of machshava is totally and absolutely up to us to develop and evolve. If we are waiting for a miracle from above to attain enlightenment and to attach ourselves to the yesod hayesodot, to the pillars, to the pillar of pillars, and to the amud hachachma, to the pillars of wisdom. If we are waiting for wisdom to be to come magically from some place, we are making a huge human mistake. It is us that have to put in the hard work. And to the extent that we put in the hard work, and knowing the human being, the hard work is going to be different for every person. Some people are going to be doing it through book knowledge. Some people are going to be doing it through meditation. Some people are going to be doing it by looking at the world. There is a plethora of ways to acquire enlightenment. Maimonides is not directing us in one particular school of thought, but he most definitely is adamant that enlightenment comes from our own internal efforts. Okay, any comments and or questions or protests?
Donna has had her hand up, but maybe, even though I will be busy with wedding planning for Molly's Sunday wedding, I will try to get with you offline to list the chapters, verses, psalm numbers, and then to create a little handy the 4 worlds of Machshava.
Yes, Kim, I will do that. I actually hesitated because I knew that I was going to take a picture of my handwritten Hebrew and the handwritten English, and with a cognizance that a week before your youngest daughter's wedding is not the time for you to be deciphering my Hebrew and printing it out. I
have no greater pleasure.
But maybe not this week. Maybe not this week.
There's a few details. Donna,
It was an executive decision not to do it. I'll do
you're
it next
my boss.
week.
You are the boss of all bosses.
I'll do it next week.
Donna, okay. Donna.
Can't wait. I just wanted to comment of a thought that's been going through my mind, and that is that if we partner with God, if we know that God is our partner, that God is our source and our friend and our lover and everything encompassing, we would tend to turn to God more often. So even if you're doing book learning, I used to go to Barnes and Noble and I would say, okay, show me what book I should read, instead of saying, oh, what book should I read? Talking to myself, I would talk to God. Or if I'm planning to do something, if I defer that my thoughts are just my thoughts, but that there is a larger thought that can be flowing through me, I might find that what is in store for me is greater. Even, something small like going to buy a 9x12 rug and finding a 6x9 rug, thinking that, oh, my rug is not there, and then saying, oh, well, this was much better. So I think that it really starts with knowing that I do have a partner in life, just as I might call up Kimmy or you if I have an issue. That's my human source. I can also go to my fatherly source.
Absolutely.
And then trust.
Absolutely. Donna, yes, we have to trust the world. We have to trust the universe. We have to trust destiny. We have to trust everything around us. Those are all what we call in Jewish tradition. Those are all angels. They are all messengers for us. But
right.
what Maimonides is. What he is trying, and what I'm trying to impress, is that the human, all those variables, they are all part of the picture. But there is nothing more important. There is nothing more impactful than the will than our own human will to seek proactively our own wisdom pillars. If we do not do it, we are only going to get crumbs, little crumbs from the universe. And that's not good enough, says Maimonides. In the pursuit of enlightenment, to wait, to act, not to be proactive, to wait, there has to be an intention that is so intent and so strong, and only out of that intent is enlightenment going to be able to blossom.
Thank you both. And Rabbi Cantor, please unmute. And then Mike.
I was just going to say, it might be repetitive then. I was going to say that I don't think Maimonides wanted us to take God completely out of the picture. I think that our acknowledgement and receiving of God just gives us the strength to put all of these levels into action. And we may not have the capacity to equally put forth all these levels. Some of us are more gifted than others in some of these levels, but I really don't think Maimonides meant for us to take God completely out of the picture.
Did anyone say that? I don't know where you would get that assumption from.
I wasn't assuming, I was just kind of reinforcing.
You're reinforcing.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that Maimonides never took God out of the picture, ever. his first, I think we did it last week, his first premise is that wisdom only comes, true wisdom only comes from a knowledge that God exists and that God is in the picture. That is the pillar of all pillars.
Thank you for the clarification, Rebbe. Mike Selzer, please unmute.
Okay. Good morning.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Rabbi. So nice to see you and everybody bright and early. Well, at least early for us. So with each question that came up, or comment, the last couple of comments, it just kind of entangled my thinking more and more. Because I started with a clear picture. You had said earlier, at least it was clear to me, the moment, that there's a gap between Keter and Malchut, that there's this void between the immanence and the transcendence, between God and man. So, and that enlightenment, when I heard that in my thinking, then enlightenment stopped on this side of the gap. That we use our own intellect, our own thinking about thinking, possibly to become enlightened. But if we do become enlightened, we get into that cosmic consciousness that you mentioned. We're still on mankind's side of the gap. We're not on God's side of the gap. Is that basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So based on that, then the question becomes, in the thinking of going to the bookstore and thinking of using the cosmic consciousness thought in order to enhance my smaller human thought, or at least my present moment of that smaller thought, trying to look for the God connection. But there's a gap between our side and God's side. So then I started thinking, well, the stories about who wrote the Torah, was it man's writing of it? Was it God telling Moses to write it down? Was it an inspiration that came from God to Moses to write it down? Is the inspiration when I go to the bookstore from God or from my higher connection to higher consciousness within my gap, the side of the gap that I'm on? And And then as the cantus, started to say, but corrected, possibly, that is God out of the picture because God's on the other side of the gap, and it's such a vast space between what God thinks and what we think that we have no idea that our thoughts are connected in any way to the way God thinks. So that's where I got lost. So
Well, Michael, what? Beautiful. What you just asked is actually going to be unraveled nearly exactly in the next few lessons.
oh, good. Okay.
I just want to compliment you. Your thinking is like right on, and I'm happy for the comments, Risa, before and Donna, what you said, because what you just were. Donna and Risa were making statements. You saw a certain contradiction in what was being presented, as Maimonides himself is going to be grappling and struggling with the idea of this gap and the contradictions that gap, that immense gap presents on a philosophical level. So, Michael, I am not going to answer or respond, because the next three lessons are going to be my attempt to unravel Maimonides' attempt at answering that.
Fine. Okay. I'll be waiting.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
and I will be getting deeper into your inquiries, your questions that you just. Hopefully I will be asking questions until you are in a rage about contradictory elements that Maimonides is presenting about divinity, and you will say, but it doesn't make sense. And if it is true what Maimonides is saying, then he has just destroyed what I believe to be the pillars of Judaism.
Well, all right. That sounds good.
Thank you for the heads up. We have the Sandys in a box. I'm not sure which Sandra is. Sandra Puslins. Hi, other Sandy.
We're together, isn't that nice?
In Florida.
It's beautiful.
In
You know,
Florida together.
Yeah, and Rabbi, you know me, so I always like to boil everything down into what becomes a simple level to me. And all my life, since I was cognizant of language, I was being taught this by my father. So I didn't realize it was Torah. I didn't realize it was about transcendence. But what I feel is that when you start to be up close to the gap, I really never think about the gap because I always think God is with me. But it's when I don't have to think when someone falls and I run to pick them up, that is where I have transcended to, that I don't have to think about, that is in me.
I would say that analogy is absolutely a good one. And I would add, Sandy, that idea that if a person falls and I do not have to think, I don't have to, the lower type of thinking, right? I do not have to utilize the lower part of thinking because to help that person up, because I have already developed in my cells, in my muscle memory, actually, I have already developed a pulling up consciousness that is on the Asiya level. Yeah, and that's a beautiful example. What if that kind of intellectual and wisdom muscle memory also occurred on the emotional level?
It does.
If that kind of muscle memory, that cell memory, if we were able to have that kind of muscle memory on an emotional level, that would mean I never get angry. I never get frustrated. I never get pissed off. Right? In other words, I'm not trying anymore. I have come to a place of enlightenment. I have come to that place where I'm not struggling anymore. Should I get angry? Should I not get pissed off at this person? I'm not struggling anymore. Imagine if I can do that on the emotional intelligence level. Then imagine if I go even more into enlightenment and I can do that, on the creative level. I can start creating without thinking pieces of art or artifacts of engineering that I don't know is gonna, right? So I love your example, because you're just illustrating, if you can do that on a asiya, on an action level, then we are capable of doing it on emotional intelligence level, and then on the creative level, and then go even higher, talking about transcendence, even higher on a transcendent cosmic level. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you.
The last word before you get back to what's next on your page is Marcia Braff.
Thank you, Kim. Hi, everyone. So it occurs to me that the flip side of what you said, what Sandra said about she never knew she was learning Torah, and it is just part of her either learned or innate DNA, or so solidly absorbed message that when she sees someone fall, she picks them up. And the flip side of being able to be that person, to do those things, to act that way without thinking about it. The flip side to be wary of is that there are people whose messaging, whose DNA, whatever it is, have them programmed to be the opposite of that. So even though we can have learned the lessons so well and incorporated them so well, I think it's still necessary to examine them, to be aware of them, to give them thought, to not rely on that automatic reaction, because sometimes, even for those of us who are like Sandra, as good as we are and as good as our instincts are and as positive, we should still be examining our thoughts and our actions to see what else is lingering there, to be aware that maybe there's something that we shouldn't be relying on automatically, because we're not in a perfect world. We are not perfect. So where do our imperfections lie, as well as the flip side?
Marcia, I love what you said, and you added a lot. My only question is, do you want me to respond, or do you want I think Sandy should respond because it was her comment, but I'll respond after Sandy.
Sure. Hi, Sandy.
Somebody's drilling. I can't talk.
Drilling from above?
Yeah. From above. Maybe you don't want me to talk. No, I think I gave an example. It's just that I have learned over the years. Sorry. And it has become innate to do certain things. It has nothing to do with me being good, bad, or indifferent, honestly.
Okay.
And I don't want it to end. I want to learn more and more. And I have become calmer, and I have started becoming more astute of what I do and what I don't do. But that is a wonderful thought, Marcia. I love that thought.
Yeah. Marcia, I agree totally with you, adding that nuance, that nothing with the human condition says that when we attain a certain level of consciousness, a certain level of kindness, that is permanent.
No.
And that the idea that we should always be checking ourselves is wise advice, given the human condition and the fluctuations that occur within the human psyche. It's always good advice to be on guard. Shamor, guard yourself. That is wise advice. And I know that Sandy agrees with you, but Sandy's point of I have attained a certain natural reflex for good. I have evolved into naturally choosing to pick up the person that's on the ground. I have attained a certain consciousness that 99.5% of the time is in place, and I still have to check myself. I think the combination between Marcia and Sandy is just fine, just fine.
And just to be clear, I wasn't questioning and his or
Yeah.
her commitment to that. It's all of
Yes,
us in this
yes.
room. It's why we hang out together.
Yes, no. So it's wise advice that if one thinks one has attained that certain level, don't be overconfident, and always check your motives. Always check your checklists. Wise Musar advice.
And because Susan never asks the question, go ahead, Susan. I was gonna, and then we're switching back to Rabbi Akiva.
Thanks, Kim. I just wondered whether there are further, besides book learning and meditation, can you mention other methods of attaining wisdom or approaching wisdom?
The mystics and the Baal Shem Tov in particular strongly advised us that not everyone is a book, especially the Baal Shem Tov. I think this was the absolute primary innovation and chiddush that the Baal Shem Tov introduced, and that is that not everyone is a book learner, which in the day and maybe even today, but in the day, book learning and Torah was Torah, and wisdom in general was associated with book learning. The Baal
Thank you,
Shem Tov-
Rabbi, you're up.
What?
Oh. I'm sorry, I said you were up, but you are up, never mind.
Yeah, the Baal Shem Tov introduced a huge revolutionary chiddush to answer your question, that everything in the world, everything that you can call my life's experience, can be the tool, the catalyst for enlightenment, epiphany, Holy Spirit, and prophecy. That he introduced an idea that life's experience, if the person is actually aware and has the lenses to see, then everything in the world, from dancing, from singing, from listening to the birdies, to the birds, from seeing mountaintops, from swimming in a river, from sexual relations that are kosher, that from every angle of life's experience, there holds a potential for enlightenment. And if one is not a book learner, but rather resonates with vibrations that come from music or dancing or nature or anything else that this good life and this creation has offered us, if we dig deeply enough, we can attain enlightenment from those particular things. And that was his great innovation. It does not necessarily have to come, and this is going to be an important point in terms of Maimonides, where Maimonides seems to be saying that it has to do with machshava and more like more what we call human intelligence, and I think the Baal Shem Tov and Maimonides on one level would agree that it depends how you define intelligence. It depends how you define intelligence. So enlightenment comes from many different sources, and let's stop labeling them, says the Baal Shem Tov, and I think says Maimonides. So friends, Maimonides presents he presented like a few beautiful major parables, one of which we did years ago at Joan and Jack's place. We really had a good time, which I think I would be amiss if I did not in 2 or 3 lectures present that to us, because it is something that I hope would remain in your consciousnesses as a model of how the gap between immanence, between our little selves here and the cosmic intellect, the Keter, how the bridge is made, how the bridge between that gap is made. So I think I will do that, but I remember how affected actually the chevra on Thursday nights with Joan, how this parable, how effective it was. So here is what I think another really effective parable metaphor is. Maimonides says that in terms of human enlightenment, human acquisition of wisdom, and the cosmic intellect that is responsible for everything, he creates this parable of the tree. So use your imaginations, chevra. The tree does not have to speak to the branch, to its own branch, and convince it that they are one. I'd love to meditate and sing a song with that. The tree does not have to speak to the branch and convince it that they're actually one. the branch has to know that it is part of the tree. The tree that Maimonides is calling the active or cosmic intellect. That's the tree with capital letters. CI, the cosmic intellect, the active intellect. That's another name for divinity. And most, friends, most naturally and most organically, that tree emanates messages and vibrations and presence to its branches. This is where we're making like the connection. That it is not a coincidence that the spherotic chart of life is called a tree with branches. The branch and the tree and the tree and the branch are one. In English, we call them different things, appendages. But in philosophical and mystical terms, we should not have two different names for them. That is a distortion. It's like saying if I cut off your finger, it's not really you. It's only your finger. No, my finger is me. The branch of the tree is the tree. The tree is the branch, is emanating to the, it's just an emanation of the tree. The branch is just an emanation of the tree. And the tree, which is the branch, which is us, right? The branch is Malchut. The tree is Keter. And we think there is a division. It looks like a division, but not really. But not really. So we once again come to source. We come to whatever is emanating from the source is part of source. My wisdom is ultimately coming from your wisdom. We are only emanations of a cosmic wisdom that we are obligated to graduate. But our wisdom is coming from a cosmic place. The non-realization of that is the human is a human failure. That we think the branch thinks it is separate from the tree. My sense of holiness, and we can do a whole 5-year lecture series on what that word means. My sense, our sense of holiness is coming from a source of holiness. And the question behind Maimonides' Guide for the Perplexed is, don't you get that? Human beings, don't you, the branch, understand that you are part of the tree? And you can grow it from you can grow in a multiplicity of ways from the tree if you realize that if you finally get it, that you're not an independent entity, that you are part of something, of the tree. You're part of something cosmic. Don't you understand that, you human beings? Don't you like understand that internally? And you know what? Most of us say to that question, don't you get that? Most of us say, not really. I really don't get that. Or we say, I don't get that yet. I, as a branch, do not get that I am part of the tree, that I have a tree, I have a trunk, I have roots in other places that makes me into a branch. Or some of us respond, I get it a little bit, but I'm not making that little bit a big part of my consciousness. I'm not making it a big part of my life. And then some say to that question, I don't get that at all. So I'm not addressing those that don't get it at all. I'm addressing all of us that I want to know a little bit more about the connection between my branch, myself, and the tree. And it's not a coincidence that Maimonides, when he describes the tree in other places, as I mentioned, says, starts talking about Amud, the pillars of wisdom. Because from the pillars come branches. So, Chevra, our homework, homework homework for children in Israel is avodat habayit, the homework, avodat habayit. But avoda means in Talmudic terms, al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed. Al Torah ve'al ha'avoda. Avoda means more than work. It means inner work. It means devotional work. So the devotional work is to carry around with us the tree and the branch. The tree and the branch metaphor. And that how we on a certain level have to dissolve the idea that the branch is disassociated from the tree. We have to give that notion up. And the branch has to surrender to the tree with a cosmic realization. Seeing the branch as a unique and individual part without that's a good thing. The branch is something, but for the branch to have the chutzpah to disassociate itself from the tree, from higher transcendent existence, is part of our homework, is part of our worship to do that. By the way, last thought. We were talking about the word machshava, choshev, the high spectrum on a philosophical and mystical level of what that word means, and how many realms, how many manifestations even on the human level that carries. You might be surprised, you might be surprised, glad, or disappointed. I see it in all three ways. To know what what has always been and currently is the Hebrew word for a computer. There's going to be a surprise and I feel a disappointment. A computer in Hebrew is a mechashev. Mechashev, something that thinks. Something that thinks, maybe in parentheses, for you, instead of you. Computer in Hebrew is a mechashev. And Kim, we will end with that.
Thank you. Thank you. I saw a couple of you guys smiling with Michashe, Barbara Johnson, and Marcia Braff.